Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm the Yellow Brick Rabbit and today we look at some more Star Wars Galaxy of Adventures. We'll probably go through 2 episodes this time, so 2 and 3 probably. We've already looked at episode 1 in a previous installment, so go check that out if you haven't already. But without further ado, let's get the celluloid rolling on this one, shall we?
In a galaxy of adventures, every pilot needs a good co-pilot.
Alright, so this could as easily be R2, since R2 is also basically a co-pilot. You might be saying he's a droid, so he's not a co-pilot. Well, that would undermine the entire purpose, the entire intro bit of this, wouldn't it? That you need a co-pilot. Uh-huh. Yeah, it kind of depends on what ship you're flying, huh? In fact, that ship that shows up behind them in the next little bit. Yeah, I've already seen this. It requires a little bit more than a co-pilot.
We're gonna have company!
Okay, so that line doesn't make sense there. You should have just made it, company. You should have just had him yell, company, or something like that, because the company is there. No TIE fighters end up showing up in this scene, so, yeah, that's what it originally has to do with, is that TIE fighters are coming in to take them out, and they have to get to the guns. I'm pretty sure that's when that line comes from. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not going to look it up. It's something equivalent where they actually have company. And the first thing they do is run away from the cockpit. Yes, we're about to see why they run away from the cockpit.
Where's our boosters? Alluvial dampers? That's not it. Bring me the hydro spanners.
Okay, so where to even start? Why, when an Imperial Star Destroyer shows up behind them, do they run away from the cockpit to go fix the ship? They haven't been hit yet. They haven't gotten any damage yet. There wasn't any scene of them getting damaged. It's just like, oh, we're under attack. We better go fix the ship. Like, why is the ship damaged? Because it's the Millennium Falcon. It's always broken. And yet, no. Like, what are you talking about? And then you have the scene of them so-and-so, what they call fixing the ship, which is just your standard little cartoony, popping out of different doorways scenario from Scooby-Doo. What? Yeah, it's older than that, I know, but whatever. That's a reference people will get. And then he's talking about tools, like, first it's can you decide whether the engine is damaged or the dampeners or, the inertial dampeners or the, what tool he needs or, anything? No, that would be too much. You just need to use the lines that are available, right? And the question already exists. Why are they fixing the ship? So you have them under attack, then, about the co-pilot, which we never get back to, by the way. And then we have them fix the ship randomly for no reason.
How's this? Oh, turn it off! Come on, Joey!
Now they're fixing the ship and flying it at the same time. So they're maneuvering about and fixing the ship, not sitting in the cockpit at the same time. That doesn't make sense.
1, 2, 3!
And now that they've spent that time fixing the ship is now broken. You see, if you put this at the start, before they went to fix the ship, then we would actually have a narrative in this 1-minute thing, where they're under attack, the hyperspace doesn't work, so they go back to fix it. That would make some sense, and then the rest would just be, comical little bits about them fixing the ship. That would be funny. Now they just spent all this time to get nothing out of it. From something that didn't make sense in the first place.
Punch it!
And that was the extent of the second clip. Hooray for co-pilots. They can bang on your dashboard. What was the point of that? So episode 2 wasn't as bad as episode 1 of Galaxy of Adventures, but let's just look at it. It doesn't hold anything worthwhile either. It doesn't have a coherent story in it. It starts off talking about about co-pilots, but then has nothing to do with co-pilots. And you might be saying, oh, but, Chewie helps him with the ship. It doesn't show anything of this. It doesn't show why you need a trusty co-pilot. It doesn't do anything. It's just quirky bits of them fixing the ship at the worst time to be fixing the ship. Yeah, it's silly and small and doesn't make any sense. But other than that, not much to be said. Let's get on to 3, because 3 needs to be talked about specifically because, and I have no problem with this dude. I like him. I follow them and watch their content quite regularly. But dear Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers, what on earth are you talking about? What? You can like these. You can like them all you want. I have no problem with you enjoying these or not seeing a problem in them. That's fine. We can be different that way. But you missed something. And in case people don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to let you hear something from Jeremy that has to do exactly with this short. The short that we're about to look at. Episode 3, The Power of the Dark Side. So, Jeremy, would you like to tell us what you thought?
It actually shows Vader being somewhat violent, which, again, pretty cool.
Oh, but he isn't. He isn't violent at all. In fact, he's less violent than Luke. Yeah, that makes a problem, doesn't it? Now, you might not know what I'm talking about, so let's go through episode 3. There are only a couple things to say about this episode, so we're gonna go through it, hopefully with little to say. Remember those lights flickering. I want you to remember that those lights are flickering, as though the power is going through them, but they are broken. It will be important at the end of this.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Okay, now that we're at the appropriate bit, let's slow it down to 1/4 speed, shall we, for the rest of it. I'm also going to mute it so that it doesn't sound terrible, just to save your ears, because 1/4 speed sound effect just doesn't sound good. So, he slices a gun in half. He slices another gun in half. A third gun sliced in half. And he's using the Force. Oh, what's he? Oh, he's pulling 2 guns out of the hands of his enemies. Now, you might think he's about to throw it at those same guys, but that hit a gun, and that hit a gun. You might be saying, no, those 2 were just unarmed. No, these are the 2 unarmed ones. Look, they have no weapon. Yeah, and boink, they hit each other. How fantastic. Oh, his lightsaber just took out another gun. Isn't it amazing how pacifist Vader is, that he would go through a hallway with enemies and specifically aim for their weapons so as not to hurt a fly. Oh, and there's the last gun in the room. And that was the slow motion bit. Yeah, as you can see, when you slow it down, he doesn't hurt a fly. This is pacifist Vader. For some reason, yeah, well, whatever. It undermines Vader's character. I was going to say more snarky stuff, but there's no point. Yeah, we see Luke be more violent on the sand skiffs. Is it the sand skiffs? I don't know. The Tatooine, when he comes back to deal with Jabba. But here we see Vader, who won't hurt a fly. Vader, the guy who, killed a temple full of children. Yeah, that guy. He apparently, specifically aims for his enemy's weapons so that he doesn't hurt anyone. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to call Jeremy out for anything. It is very easy to miss this. In fact, if you watch it on full speed, normal speed, it's hard to even tell that that's what happens. The only reason I found it is because I went back and slowed it down specifically to see whether Vader actually hit anyone, because I had an inkling that he wouldn't, because of the whole child thing, and I knew what to look for. But anyway, I just yeah, Vader ain't violent. He's a pacifist here. He's an anti. Vader doesn't like your Second Amendment. Oh. Yeah. Oy. Anyway, let's get back to full speed and watch the rest of it. Alright. Now, let's forget that there was nothing in front of Vader for him to slash at the end there, and that he basically just did a childish swoosh through the air with his saber. But let's talk about the lights. Remember I mentioned those flickering lights at the beginning? Yeah, they all just turned on, didn't they? Yeah, they all just turned on. All of them. Not a single one is broken. Not a single one has a broken... But they were flashing in the beginning. So, does that mean that there's someone standing, like, you know, by the light switch, flicking them on and off at the... And if so, how many switches are there? Because that would mean the individual lights or light sections have different switches for the entire hallway. So, like, not the entire hall, for sections of the hallway, so that you could turn on, like, individual ones quickly after each other. It looks like a rave. Like, no, they were broken, so you don't get to turn them all on at the end. Like, what are you doing? But it looks good. They're doing it for the look. You see the light comes on, and it's full of you know, yeah, that's pointless. If you're gonna do that, make it make sense. Don't have the flickering lights at the beginning. Oh, but that was set there for mood. Yeah, you don't get both then. You get to use things for dramatic effect, but you have to actually work them into your scene. You don't just get to change, you know, the dramatic effect you're using in the scene off of a whim and not have any explanation for it whatsoever in the short. It is amazing how many mistakes in just simple storytelling you make in 1-minute shorts. Vader is more pacifist than Luke Skywalker now. At least as you're showing him. Anyway, I think that's enough for this installment looking at the Galaxy of Adventures. All love to Jeremy, you know, because he's an awesome dude, and I have no beef with the dude. Wish him all the best. But we apparently disagree about these shorts. I think they undermine Star Wars completely and would be terrible to show to your children if you want to enjoy Star Wars with them at a later date. But on the other hand, I mean, if you've seen Star Wars, if your kids have seen Star Wars, these aren't too bad. They make no sense, and they aren't good for your child's development. But then, I mean, cartoons aren't always for child's education and the development of their brain. You know, there is such a thing as just mindless entertainment, and that's okay sometimes. However, the article that I read that was about this at the beginning tried to schmooze the opposite, and that's what I have a problem with. These can exist all they want, but they shouldn't be pushing it towards people who don't want to watch the original things with their kids, because it undermines those, and they shouldn't be pushing it as an educational thing. Because there's no educational things in here. In fact, it's one of the least educational children's programs that you could probably find. It's uneducational. Because even as a story, it makes less sense than simple stories that are children's stories. They seem to think that for children means it doesn't matter if there's a continuity of plot, character, or, you know, story arc or any of these things, when really the reason that children enjoy these things is because they get to follow those stories and things like this. And you might be sitting there, oh, but children's attention span has been dwindling and, you know, so they can't handle such high... Then you need to make them handle those things. If you just accept that the children today have no attention span and can't spend more than 5 minutes, 1 minute looking at something, then maybe you need to work on that. Maybe you shouldn't just indulge that behavior. Maybe you should try and get them to focus on things for extended periods of time. And you know what would be a good way to do that? A good way to get kids to actually focus on something for an extended period of time? If they could be involved and engaged with it. And to involve and engage them, they have to be thinking about it. And for that to happen, it has to make sense. It has to follow a logical progression. They have to wonder what's going to happen next. And if nothing happens that is in any way coherent or makes sense together, then there is no coming up with what happens next. There is no going to play a character in playtime as a child, because there's no story to push yourself into. There's no story to frame the playtime and understand each other's roles. You know, the development that children do when they play. And anyway, this has gone too long. I've been rambling about educational things, and yeah. Anyway, that was my thoughts on episodes 2 and 3. Hopefully, I'll do some more on the next few. They probably won't be as in depth because there isn't that much to say about them, I don't think. Some weird artistic choices and stuff like that, but other than that, not really much. So I don't know if I'll bother. Maybe I will. Let me know if you'd like to see me do the rest of them. Down below. Leave a comment or something. Leave a like. Do all those things you do for all the other YouTubers. And thanks in advance. And hopefully I'll catch you next time.